Alright, this is Adam Kellenberger with Comic Boards Inc. And I've got one of our artists with us, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Megan E. Risk. I am an artiste.
Alright. What inspired you to be an artist?
Probably my dad,
Yeah.
I think.
How old?
Oh, I don't even... So I get this question a lot where people ask me, when did you start drawing? And I've always been drawing. I really don't. I mean, it's not always good. It wasn't good for a long time, but I was always drawing. My parents were constantly getting me art supplies as a kid. Every time every time Christmas rolled around, it was always like I wanted pens, paper, pencils, along with like an easy bake oven, but like also pens, paper, pencils.
No Transformers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Right.
Transformers, you
Right.
know. But my brother would get that stuff, and then I'd play with it. So, Ninja Turtles, stuff like that.
Nice.
But easy bake oven, like. But that's like with the crafty stuff too.
Did you get the Easy Bake Oven?
I did absolutely get the easy bake oven. It was amazing. I ate a lot of really bad food.
Alright.
So when I think I was in college. I liked to draw a lot, but I wanted to be a writer. I thought that I was going to be a professional writer. I wasn't expecting the art to take the foreground as much as it has. But I tell stories through my art anyway, so it makes sense.
Right.
But I think it was college when I started to take my college courses, or I started to, I think after I'd graduated high school, I was like, I'm going to go and get my art degree at Humboldt State University. And then it was right at the recession, so of course I couldn't afford any of that. And I wasn't about to take out any student loans. Thank God I didn't. So that's really when, like, after I graduated high school and started getting into college, that's when I realized that I wanted to be a professional artist. But it still didn't seem like that was possible at that point. I put myself in that position so many years ago, and it still seems like it was just like a happy idea that I had, and that it was never actually going to happen. And then now here I am. But I went through a couple different phases of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was gonna be a sushi chef.
Right.
Junji Ito, for sure. I remember.
Tell us a little bit about him.
So Junji Ito is a horror manga artist, and it was the first time I think I'd seen as I guess I was 20 something, maybe early 20s, late teens when I first read Gyo, and everybody knows it as the fish spider creature things, and mechanical fish. And it was the first time I'd really seen anything in a comic that legitimately disturbed me. And I thought that was fascinating. I couldn't stop from there. I found a whole archive, and now I have all of the manga I can get my hands on in the States. And when it comes to horror and artwork, that is where I really pull from. But then there's also Edgar Allan Poe, who, as a writer, I'm always fascinated with his unreliable narrator that he has in most of his stories. Really, most of his stories, not all of them, but the question of, is what I'm reading accurate, and what if it isn't? What does that say about me, and what does it say about other situations? What if what I'm feeling right now is in that person's mind so different, or what if I'm feeling something that's so different? Everybody else is viewing my reaction to a situation as like beyond, way out there, unacceptable. Bury a guy under floorboards.
Right. So you mentioned that you wanted to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
You thought you were going to be a writer.
Thought I was.
You've been doing the freelance art for several years now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's transitioned into writing. You are writing a story called Marionette.
Yes.
And this is going to be your first introduction to the world of your writing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Marionette?
Marionette has taken on some different, it has evolved over the years. So I first wrote Marionette when I was in high school. And it was not as much as it was, or like as it is now. It has definitely grown and become something new. But it was very, very, like the time was, the time it took place was really ambiguous. Everything about it, there were so few things were important in the story. The location was not important. I didn't add any of that stuff. It was just about this person and these things that she, and at the time that this was definitely a female character, just fixates on these things, and her perception of how everybody else behaves around these things and toward these things is just completely skewed. And it's that unreliable narrator where you're seeing this story from her point of view, but you're like, I don't think this is really accurate to what's going on. And she ends up doing something totally wild at the end, and you see how she gets there, or you follow her wild thought process. I'm not gonna say crazy, it's not accurate, and it's just not the right term anyway these days, but it's I would say wild from my standards as a person,
so
relatively functional person.
Yeah, and on this story, is this something that you conjured up on your own, just with thoughts, or does this come from real life experiences? Where did the inspiration of the story come from?
I don't know initially where it came from. It could have been something a little more subconscious than what it is now, but at the moment, when it took its turning point and became something new into what it is today, I decided I need to pull from reality in order for this to be a powerful story. And that comes from growing up. My dad's side of the family, we don't talk to anymore. We don't have a good relationship at all with them. I have no relationship with them, and I don't want a relationship with them. It was very good to have cut them out of our lives. But quite a bit of my childhood I have a lot of memories of them, and in particular, my grandmother and her absolute obsession with dolls. But she had this room that she was just full of her dolls. It's just her entire collection, and maybe I remember it as being something more impressive than it was in reality, but I just remember the guest room that I stayed in was just full of stuff, and that is a feeling that I have carried over into this story, just that hate for this room and these things that had this attachment to all of this crap that just consumed her life. So that's how I brought real life into this story. I adapted it all, and I've sort of crammed it all together, mixed it all up, and it has developed into actually a very personal story. For the most part, it's not all 100% personal. There's a little extra in there, but my own creativity.
So this room full of dolls wasn't necessarily something that you were afraid of. It was more of what the meaning behind the room is what bothered you. The fact that it was your grandmother's personal attachments.
It must have been. Like, if you want to break it down psychologically, I'm sure my therapist would have fun with this one. But yeah, I think that the I think people, I've said, I'm afraid of dolls. I think I say more often that I don't like dolls, and they make me uncomfortable. And it's both that uncanny valley that dolls have, and the psychological, the associations that I have with all this crap. And I had stuff too, but not the way she did.
All right.
So there's some resentment.
So is this going to be a novel? Is it going to be a comic book? What's the format you plan on doing with Marionette?
It's kind of a mashup of comic and story. So I didn't want to use, since this is my first attempt at something that I'm illustrating and writing at the same time, and I want there to be as much artwork as there is text. And I don't like following rules. And graphic novels have all kinds of rules that I have to follow, and I just don't want to do it. So I'm just doing something like text on one page, full art spread on the other. I might mix it up a little bit in there just because I just feel like it. Because I don't want to do what other people tell me to do, and I don't want to follow any rules, so I'm just going to do what I want to do.
So more like an illustrated short story.
Yeah, it's the best way I've been able to describe it, even though I think that sometimes confuses people as well. But
yeah, there's examples I can think of. I know that Stephen King did Cycle of the Werewolf, and in Cycle of the Werewolf, it was mostly a novel, but every page or every other page had the splash page you're speaking of, you know, and sometimes there might even be an image in the behind the text, you know, on certain pages. So
I have some plans for things that I'm going to be doing with the text that's not just text. I've got plans.
Okay.
I'm going to throw in some things like bookmarks and stickers and fun stuff like that for lower tiers, and then the higher tiers will also get that, but you get an opportunity to get hardbound exclusive covers, so special edition covers, possibly some variant covers, and there is a stretch goal and a tier that is actually a piece of one of the original pages, so that will be an option as well if you want an actual piece of the artwork. I don't know if you'll be able to choose, because that seems like a major deal, but you have an opportunity to get a page, and of course those will be limited.
So for the Kickstarter, when do you plan on launching this Kickstarter? Halloween. That's very soon.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Yeah. October 31st is the launch. That's just the launch of the Kickstarter. So it's the goal is to have it in everybody's hands before the new year. I'm working with Ninja Print to get things started and printed and looking pretty. They're sending me a pack of paper pack.
Examples?
Yeah, samples. And I'm really excited about that. That's like where it really starts to feel like, holy crap, it's coming together. Because right now it still feels like the idea of being an artist professionally when I was in high school. So
I think you're beyond that point.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, in that sense, but like once I become published, that's like, that's it. I'm done with everything else. And like as far as jobs, I'm an artist.
Right.
Mom.